From the swamp to the stars, let's head over to Tim Seanor. The UFO report is up next.
Nobody's going to know.
They're going to know.
Little Timmy Seanor joins us with the updates of what's going on around the UFO world as we get a little bit closer to Christmas. And it's always fun here when Tim is around because we bounce a lot of stories off each other. I think he actually really, I've kind of figured out Tim's game here. His entire job with this UFO report, I think, is to try and piss me off. I think that's the entire part of what you're doing here. Is there any truth to this, Tim?
I have nothing to say to that. I think that you just always see the other side of the coin of whatever I'm showing somehow. And you know, I do have my argument, which whatever that is. And so, yeah, maybe I do rub you the wrong way sometimes. You know, they like it when I'm mean to Dave. What can I say?
Apparently. Yeah. You know, let's go through this, and we'll go through it again next week a little bit more. But just off the top of your head, in 2022, what is Tim Seanor's favorite UFO story of the year?
Ooh.
I'm going to put you on the spot there for a second.
I think the racetrack UFOs were pretty good. I'm a massive fan of independent sourced information. So nothing I pick is ever going to be, a government announcement on a case. So I think I liked that because we got to see Ben Hansen, moving moment to moment with that case. It was pretty fun to watch it unfold. Not all of it is explained yet. So I think that's my favorite case of the year.
Really? Mine, I think, would be the fact there's a couple that there hasn't been a UFO report come out yet, that we're still waiting. And I would say NASA is up there. But most importantly, I think the story that really, really turned the tides for me this year, and it wasn't a sighting or anything like that, but it was the U.S. Navy coming out and saying, we're not going to give you any more goodies. No more videos. We're not going to comment on this. Your hands are tied. We don't care if you're an elected official. We don't care if the American public is our bosses. We're just going to shut up and we're just going to, do our own thing.
Yeah.
I think that was a big one. And then, of course, I do have to give ourselves props here at Spaced Out Radio when we had Member of Parliament Larry Maguire on the show to talk about Canada's involvement in UFOs. This is a subject that is very, very close to my heart. And basically talking about the fact that, if he had his dream, he wants all of the alphabet agencies in Canada to come together and put their UFO files and reports into one area, into one reporting system for public scientific usage. No threat narratives, public scientific usage. And I would say between all of those, that was probably my highlights of the UFO year this year. And we can discuss and debate them all night long, that is for sure. But you know what? You have to look back and think, what were some of the key players? Because we saw a lot going on this year, man.
We did. And your top 2 or 4-letter agencies out of the US, NASA, obviously, and Navy, right? Pretty big stuff. I can't disagree with those as being massive. And, the silence of the report, I think is actually screaming information. And, we had Ramirez come out recently on Martin Willis and talk on his theories. And we've also seen Danny Sheehan talk on some of what he's doing behind the scenes. And, we've heard other people talk, Christopher Sharp on your show just the other night, in particular, about how he believes that witnesses have already revealed their information potentially on a classified or unclassified level behind closed doors, though. And that's a rumor and not a quote, but that is the belief that's gone on, because we're seeing some very specific wordage in the request for certain years coming up in this legislation. So a lot of interesting stuff. You're right. I think we're starting to see, through the keyhole a little bit. You might be right, but we'll see what 2023 has in store. I'm excited.
I think we all should be too, man. I really do. I mean, I think it's going to be one of those things, Tim, that in the end, it's going to make for some very fascinating times on, for the public in general. And, we need to be prepared for it. Our audience needs to be prepared for it. We need to be able to get ready for whatever comes out of the UFO world. And this is a story that I know some of our audience members are absolutely sick of. I also know that this is a story that some are even glued to. But we're not doing our job as journalists, as people who are trying to get the story out by just not talking about it. That's why, we created the UFO report in order to try and get these stories out. So that way, even though we may be talking paranormal like tonight, or Sasquatch, or consciousness, or true crime, there's still a little bit out there in order to get the news out, to keep people up to date with what's going on. And I think that has been a real key to the success of this.
You're totally right. And it is a burgeoning topic. And so we need independent sources in media, like yourself in the podcast world, and like Christopher Sharp out there writing for the Daily Mail and other great resources for people to go and check out. What I find very interesting, and you brought it up very briefly, is how the media has controlled this topic. And in fact, it looks like the further we read more publicly on this, we realize that the public and witnesses are the people that actually hold all the answers. So waiting for the government to disclose anything is kind of retro intuitive, if you think about it, because really we need to be looking to ourselves for the information. We hold all the answers ourselves. And I think that the government even knows that. And so we need to be very careful how we source material moving forward. I'm excited to see new legislation in the United States. I love the fact that you were personally pivotal, in the Canadian movement and the interest in transparency, and the fact that you came as a country into this really in the right way, from a scientific point of view, without labeling it really, and just recognizing its potential. And I think it's going to be an interesting 2023, but it does kind of lead me a little bit into our first story that we can head into now or at some point.
Yeah, let's get right into it if you want.
Sure. Did you want to kick it off?
What do you got for us tonight?
Okay.
Let me. No, I'll set you up.
Please.
I always set you up.
You do.
I know. I'm nice that way.
You
Close encounters of the first kind. Multiple witnesses share extraordinary videos of possible UFO sightings in rural Wisconsin. Now, I believe this is a story that television investigator, former FBI investigator Ben Hansen has been working on.
Absolutely correct. And the reason that I wanted to bring it up right off the bat, having to do with the media, is that I've really seen how the media potentially fumbled the ball on this and are always kind of a little bit slow on the uptake with the real truth behind any of these stories, because they maybe be just getting their sources from or their information rather, from one source rather than multiple sources. And so just moving forward today, I read, let's see, different information from multiple sources, including, and I actually wrote them all down here. Very interesting, and I can't seem to find my notes, but there were, oh, here it is. Both People, New York Post, Daily Mail, Bro Bible, the Independent, Metro, The Sun, and The Mirror covered this today and yesterday as it was breaking, with the headline that this was a UFO, and it was very interesting, and it went into a lot of the details, including what I'm going to bring up here in formal. But the fact of the matter is it never highlighted the fact that it was potentially debunked right off the bat within actually hours of the breaking story. And so even though that was out there in the media for them to source, they ran with the UFO topic, so it spun a little bit out of control before it was able to be reeled back in potentially. And so, did you want to comment before I kind of highlight the topic here?
No, highlight them because I want our audience to
To hear the
know that,
full story.
yeah, to hear the full
Okay.
story first.
So, multiple witnesses across rural Wisconsin shared extraordinary footage of strange lights shooting across the night skies on December 1st. The phenomena was filmed from different locations by several witnesses who ruled out searchlights on the ground as a possible explanation. Kimberly from West Bend told Daily Mail that she was driving at 10:45 when she saw a white glowing object swoop down in front of her and light up in the sky. And a few hours later, in Howard, Andrea Lynn witnessed multicolored flashing, swooping, and circling, darting lights in and across the sky. And then the following day, about 35 miles away in Greensfield, teacher Chris Nowak said that his wife alerted him to a similar odd set of lights in the cloudy sky over Fox River. And so the strange lights shooting across rural Wisconsin skies this month were filmed by multiple witnesses, different nights, and stunning videos obtained by the Daily Mail. While having multiple witnesses having this spooky up close encounter. And so the footage from December 1st shows bright white lights zipping across cloudy skies over the rolling farmland near West Bend, Fredonia, Wisconsin. And then moving at incredible speeds and appearing to come from above the thin cloud layer that night, the phenomenon was leaving witnesses just in complete disbelief as they thought they had seen a true UFO display. And so this story came through with multiple sources, and Daily Mail did obtain different videos from multiple sources. And so, including a former police officer and a financial service worker from Fredonia. And there is about a 35-mile north radius from Milwaukee here, from where this was originally cited. And so, moving forward here, we did initially get all these reports coming from people, and Ben Hansen was kind of taking them on the fly. And although he was pretty convinced that they had ruled out the fact that these could be searchlights or spotlights, we very quickly found out that none other than Mick West came very quickly with his rebuttal to what his belief was on this. And he did do his research and found that Flanders Family Christmas Light Show was taking place at the time of these events as they were recorded. And they even had video that absolutely matched all of the events that we're seeing in the sky, same cloud cover, same sequence of light movement. And so it seems like there's a pretty healthy debunk or explanation coming from maybe not such a favorite source, but potentially this is one of those stories that got a little out of our control before we were able to reel it in. Now, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think we always got to be careful, and it's very easy for anybody to get excited about something that's happening. And it also proves that we really need to make sure that the facts are in order before we go public with anything. I mean, those would be my two rules of caution when it comes to it. I mean, look, this subject is so fickle at the best of times that when we get into those areas where, somebody can put credence into debunking it or to trying to prove it as a hoax or something, it just makes our field look bad. And I'm not saying this is the fault of Ben Hansen, or I'm not saying it's the fault of anybody else, but we do have to do better. We can't get all excited over dots or things flying in the sky. Let's do our homework before we start making trying to make sense of things
Breaking
or
it to the
coming to
media.
conclusions. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. How do you feel about that?
Well, that was my frustration, that I saw it all across the board being reported on a UFO. And, if it had just been one of those stories that hadn't been broken before it had really been researched, I think that a lot of embarrassment that we're going to see in the next couple of days could have been avoided. Now, I say embarrassment simply because the community embraced this and we took this on as a serious case. Well, I feel like instead of making it public, this could have been researched and debunked, perhaps, or whatever, before it was broken as a UFO. Because I think that, given the evidence, this probably wouldn't have gotten the same legs that it has. Since this was only realized, I think, maybe days later by investigator Ben Hansen. So it's just one of those things that I find frustrating, that the media jumps on the UFO story, but doesn't jump on the possible analysis story. Like, we probably won't hear the end of this. I don't know if the Daily Mail will do an exclusive explanation. I know they did an exclusive as a UFO story. So that's my frustration, but that's also not just with this case. That's my frustration in the media in general, because I know sensationalism sells. And so this topic obviously is full of that information, and a lot of it's not provable. We can't really prove any of it.
No, very true. And that's what we got to be careful for. We have Tim Seanor until the top of the hour here on Spaced Out Radio with the UFO Report. When we come back, the FAA confirms jellyfish in the sky. How weird is that? This is why we bring Tim in to break it all down. The UFO Report continues on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear, man.
Yeah. So it's getting colder there, isn't it?
Yeah.
-38 Celsius. Yeah. Chilly, my friend. Chilly. Even the Bigfoot are just hibernating. They must be.
Nobody likes this. Nobody likes this.
Do you still have wildlife going on in temperatures like this, or are they just hunkered down?
No. They hunker down to get they go into the trees. Mm-hmm. They go into the trees and then they huddle up. And that's how they stay warm. Well, the bears are all hibernating.
Right.
The foxes will be in their dens. The cats will be in their dens. So, like, the minute it hits about -25, that's when you see the deer disappear. The deer are usually the last to go.
Okay.
But the minute it warms up, like here's the funny part. Next week, we're supposed to be up into the plus temperatures.
Huh. Isn't that interesting? And it's so It was winter solstice this past week, right? I think.
Well, tonight.
Is it tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Fancy that. Have you seen Northern Lights?
Not recently.
No, not this year.
I've seen them this year. I've seen them this year.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's BS. It's not minus 27 out. It's colder than that. Oh, that's Fahrenheit. Sorry. Minus 33 Celsius right now.
It's brutal.
Let's see. Tomorrow it says we're supposed to get warm up to minus 21. And Friday we're supposed to warm up to t-shirt weather at minus 10. Saturday will be t-shirts and no, Friday will be hoodie weather. Saturday and Sunday right through next Wednesday will be t-shirt weather. Oh yeah. Warm enough to go play some hockey outside.
Excellent.
That's for sure. But we get snow Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Nice.
We need more snow. We need more snow. Grandizer, how you doing? We probably need about 3-4 feet more snow. 5 feet of snow. Mike Bothwell, how you doing? Rono,
Hey, did you get anything from the chat today in your PO box?
My PO box. I have to go check the mail. I'll go check tomorrow.
Yeah, please do. It's there.
Yeah,
it's there. It's furry, and it's trying to escape.
I know. I got a phone call from the post office the other day that there's something in there for my son, and we haven't picked it up there. They're like, you better hurry up, or we're shipping it back. It's like, fuck. I'll get there.
It's so cold. It's not going to get, well, it might get warmer, but just get your reindeer, tie them to your sleigh, and get on over there. Get your snowshoes. And
you don't know what it's like. You don't know what it's like, man.
I grew up in upstate New York. We would get lake effect snow. We'd wake up to 6 feet of snow. Surprise, surprise. And I know it's not the same thing, but
that's wet snow.
It was crazy fun. Yeah, it was so much fun growing up there. I was a skier, so we would pray for snow.
Yeah, no kidding. I wish I could ski still. My knees have just had it, though.
Yeah, skiing is amazing. So much fun.
I love skiing.
I want to go this year.
I've never snowboarded
this year.
Are you a snowboarder or a skier?
I'm terrible at snowboarding. I've tried it plenty of times, and I always end up just frustrated. I grew up on planks, facing forward. I'm going to stay that way. But I tried the very first board. It was made of wood. It was made by Burton, and there was actually a rope on the nose of it, and you were supposed to pull the nose of that thing up. I had one of those, and then they tried all different things. There was even a version where you strapped your feet in and you'd lean a certain way, and the board had edges. It was all these weird versions. But no, I'm a skier.
All right, we got like 8 seconds. Then we're going to go here. All right, hold on, buddy. We're on to third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate it in your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Here we go with the UFO report. Little Timmy Seanor, our resident Timbit, is back to give us the update of what's going on about jellyfish somewhere in central U.S. What's going on here, man?
Yeah, FAA confirms jellyfish-like large unknown object over Minneapolis, Minnesota on October 7th of this past year, 2022. And so the Black Vault received word of this incident by someone who wishes to remain anonymous, but had access to the FAA database that listed the report. And it was sent to the Black Vault just this November of 2022. And so the text that I'm going to relate here is all related to the incident, and it was sent via email to the Black Vault. So it starts out between the tower that started this sighting and other attendees in the chat here. So it starts out with the La Crosse Tower reported that they had a target 5 miles south of La Crosse, and the object was described as a large and at low level with alternating red, blue, and green lights. And ATC also reported that they could not tell if it was a UAS, but were getting strong primary returns. And they also stated that drones generally don't register as a primary target. So the ZMP sector that showed the primary return reported it was a strong return with crosses on the screen, quote, all over the place. And so the aircraft that was reporting on the unidentified phenomenon was at 1,500 feet, and the unknown object was observed and described as having flashing green, red, and blue lights, and appeared to look, quote, like a jellyfish. And the phenomenon was traveling westbound, and the ZMP observed a primary target on radar in that area. So no aircraft observations whatsoever. And so when later queried, the ZMP reported no additional observations on radar. Dave, did you want to jump in here?
Oh, I love stories like this. I really do, because I think it's so exciting, when we get these strange reports. I mean, jellyfish? Come on.
And it's massive. Yeah. Massive enough to get these radar hits. And sadly, although the ATC recordings have a retention schedule of 45 days before they are destroyed, it was noted in the FAA response that the records were no longer available. But the Black Vault has not done a formal investigation of the incident yet, but rather will be, and is also looking to set up an archive to get some more confirmed information. But we do have the air traffic mandatory occurrence report and a lot of radar information, and then, of course, the report from Aviator. So, yeah, this is a great case. It's exciting, and anytime the FAA confirms something like this, that's record. And so this will be one of those cases that eventually gets talked about in Congress. Hopefully this year, because this sounds like a good one.
Oh, I think it does sound like a good one. And I hope it to be true. I really do hope it to be true, because, my friend, these are the kind of things, like even going back to the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where we would see strange looking craft. I
Yeah.
mean, that really set the tale for, outside of the whole flying saucer fiasco. I mean, you
Yeah.
look at what people have allegedly seen in the skies: black triangles, pyramids, squares, rectangles, objects that are all lit up like cigars, dumbbells, jellyfish, orbs, you name it. I mean, these craft shouldn't, if they're appearing like this, they really shouldn't be flying under today's physics.
Right.
And yet here they are, traveling around with most of them, if not all of them, with zero sound and strange movement, where they can, shoot up into the sky hundreds of miles and come right back down like they're in a hot air balloon, but without the slowness of coming back down to earth. I mean, this is what intrigues me, is these types of stories, because look, it could be a kite, it could be a weather balloon. Okay, we're going to have to find out more information. But the strangeness that people are seeing in the sky when they look up, that's the fun part of this, man. Just like this story.
Yeah. I can't agree with you more. Plus, it expresses the possibility that this isn't necessarily a craft, but maybe a large entity, or maybe some of the craft that we are seeing are living organisms. Who knows, right? But when you hear a description like this, it offers up the potential that maybe we're seeing a biological organism here in description, and it's just on a scale that we as humans aren't used to. And so when I hear of stories like this of something massive and that potentially has a life or seems to have its own consciousness, as a jellyfish description kind of assumes, that's interesting to me. I love this case and I love the possibilities of it.
No, I do too, and I hope it's real. I really do hope
Right.
it's real, man.
Right.
And I don't know. I just stories like this. I know I just said it, but it excites me. I love it when people see these strange type of craft that are out there.
Yeah. And it's not
And
just
what could it be?
lights. It's not just lights in the sky. It's something very different, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to bend the imagination to believe it could be true.
Right. And we perceive things on just our human scale, right? But who knows on what level and what scale we're being visited, if we're being visited, what scale is that potentially on? And are we the lowest on the food chain or the highest on the food chain? Who knows? Right. And so that's a pretty somber thought if you want to think about that. If this thing's just like plucking, things that look tasty and this one's good, but no, I'll put that back. Maybe that's like a box of chocolates and this thing is just taking little nibbles to see if it's got nuts or not.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. I mean, we just gotta make sure that we can, keep our wits, make sure we go through the full skepticism and in trying to prove or disprove what it is, and be sure that we get the right context to what it's all about. Let's get to your final story here.
All right.
And that is search for intelligent life with gravitational wave observations. What is going on here?
Interesting stuff happening from the Advanced Propulsion Laboratory. And so they're using new ways to look for intelligent life in space. And in a new result, they have demonstrated that a laser interferometer gravitational wave observatory is a powerful instrument in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And so the LIGO has an ability to detect gravitational waves and form colliding black holes that open doors to detecting rapid and or massive accelerating spacecraft, or ramacraft as they're calling it. uh, and I find this very interesting. So we'll dive a little deeper into this article, which describes this new bit of information. So while prior radio searches have only probed 10,000s of nearby stars for such extraterrestrial activity, the new LIGO system can probe all 10 to the 11th power of stars in the Milky Way galaxy for a warp drive like object. And the results will allow existing GW observatories like LIGO, Virga, and Kargra to search for evidence of the Rama craft that they're looking for. And they can do it right away by turning these observatories into the first ever Rama craft detection and ranging devices. So trying to collaborate a few existing radio telescopes to look into future observatories like the existing ones that are looking at the Big Bang observer will be 100 times more sensitive than the LIGO in detecting Ramacraft. So expanding the search and the volume of Ramadar by a millionfold, this new frontier will allow us to probe thousands of galaxies for advanced technology. So the tech is already out there. It's just considering and reconsidering how to focus it. And so, Dave, it's kind of what we've been saying is that we have the ability, but we just need to address a few little broken pieces. Sometimes it's a person that's involved in the tech that's standing in the way of its advancement, but sometimes it's just a mere collaboration between these big programs to find some answers. And that's like what we're looking at here with the Advanced Propulsion Laboratory, putting this concept together. I'm excited. How do you feel about it?
Well, I want to be excited. I really do. My concern is this going to be another SETI program where they find a whole lot of nothing after 40 years? And I don't want it to be that way. I want a legitimate search, Tim. I want to feel that search. I want to smell that search. I want to know what kind of deodorant that search is wearing, because all we got were stink bombs from SETI, which is part of NASA, by the way. And we all know where NASA sits on this topic, which is absolutely nowhere, right? But I do want this to happen. I do think it's good that we are looking into the stars to look for something that could be out there, whether it's close by in our own solar system or whether it's in another galaxy. I think that our search for extraterrestrial life out there is very important to our own survival as a planet and as a species. And the sooner we find it, I hope I hope that it would help us advance into whatever our great, 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 great grandchildren are going to be able to do on this planet. And hopefully it's for the better. Maybe it is after we colonize the moon. Maybe it is after we colonize Mars, where we could get a little bit deeper into outer space. I don't know. But I do know that we should be vigilant and we should be looking for those signals or those light rays or gamma rays or laser technology or whatever it may be to really, really try and enhance the study. Because look, these types of studies may lead us to find out that these extraterrestrial species are actually closer than they appear.
Yeah,
Okay. And it may all of a sudden lead us to know, okay, if that's where they are, let's go say hello. If they could
right.
get there, they could probably travel here already. And that's exciting to me.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I think this is exciting. And let me kind of give you an explanation of what this is in particular trying to do, because I am very interested in results that this will yield. Because what they're saying, they're proposing, is that they're going to look at disturbances in our gravity with a gravitational wave detector. And the thought is that perhaps ET tech uses gravity in one way or another, interacts with our gravity, and we would be able to detect that interaction with this detector. There would be a disturbance in the normal gravitational waves. And not only that, we should be able to detect it thousands and thousands of miles away. The same way a sound wave works, where it doesn't diminish. You're still gonna get it eventually. Um, so it's really very interesting science, and based on that, it's basically an ET detector, if you want to consider that, or a device, the ET device detector. I think it's very interesting if it's successful. Does that change your thoughts on the possibilities of this program?
It all depends if they get infiltrated. That's what it comes down to.
Oh, you are
Will
a
this study
suspicious guy. I love how you
well,
think.
but it's not about being suspicious, Tim. It's about showing what has happened previously.
Right. You are so right. You are so right, because that has happened with every program we've seen thus. And they haven't named any names in here unless you look into who's involved with the Advanced Propulsion Laboratory. But you bring up a great point. So please continue. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, thank you for supporting that. I appreciate that. But I mean, we have to look at who is serving this, because right now the scientists and the people involved are not serving this for the betterment of humanity, in my opinion. Okay, it is for their own good. Avi Loeb wants a Nobel Prize. Okay, he's made no bones about that. He thinks this could win himself a Nobel Prize and a nice couple $1 million paycheck that goes along with that. We know the U.S. government doesn't want this coming out. We know that the military in the United States does not want this coming out. This is why, in order to have any sort of confirmation, proper confirmation that there is some sort of life out in the stars, it has to be somebody with money who is going to back independent research from a university or from their own hired scientists that aren't connected to alphabet agencies. Thank you, Mr. Travis Taylor, Mr. Lou Elizondo, and really dig into what is going on. That's where we can do it. The problem is when you start playing with the big boys, it always comes back to Washington, D.C. and the Pentagon. And I don't know if a study like this, and I am hesitant that a study like this with as much positivity as it could have, I don't think it would ever get there, because you need the unbreakable banks of the U.S. government's wallet in order to try and get there. And if there's something out there, they will make the decisions. And it won't be for the betterment of the U.S. people or the people on this planet. That is my concern. I don't want it going there, Tim. I really don't. But I can't see how it doesn't.
Well, I know from what I've read that it's actually graduate students that are going to be giving the presentations and going through the data and yielding the results themselves. So although it may be professors and things like that that we see on the forefront presenting this data and announcing and being involved in these programs, I am fairly sure, and I know at least in Galileo, I don't know about it with APL, but I did see that even in APL, a lot of the people that are involved are university professors and PhDs, and they use grad students to do most of the legwork. Not that that's a good or bad thing, but what you do is you yield neutral results. And so I'm not trying to, say that it can't still be swayed one way or another, but I like knowing when there are students involved, because I feel you're going to get good information.
Well, there's an eagerness there that you want to try and take advantage of. And that's the truth by it. You want to try and take advantage of that eagerness and that willingness to that these kids would love to break something wide open, because believe it or not, we have to remember that in science, it is every scientist's dream to get their name on something, whether it's a satellite in space, whether it's a cure for a disease, or whether it's finding something new. That's the fun part about science. Okay. And when we look at it, I mean, that's on a very basic level, like I'm saying. Okay. But their job is to figure things out. How do things work? What causes, chemical reaction or light in space or solar flares or everything. That's why they keep doing it. But I mean, I think when it comes to this, where it could have a major impact, I hope the students, once again, can stay independent. We need it to be independent in order to try and go on and move forward. And this isn't going to take a year or two. This is going to take 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. And let's hope that they actually, when they do get results, if they do, that they bring it on to the public.
Yeah. And I've seen some students, and I wouldn't necessarily want them going through this data. There's a curve in every class, right? But again, I think bringing that into it helps to keep it neutral. But Dave, I'm gonna, kind of just kick this one off to you. because I know we only have a couple minutes left. Bringing NASA back into it and understanding that its leader now is really trying to put the alien narrative forward. What do you think the foundation of that is, and where do you see it going? And what is the reality of that really? Can you
The
sum it up?
reality is Bill Nelson knows more than what he needs and what he admits to. And like Lou Elizondo, he brings out different information. You got to read between the lines. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody sitting here at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune us on in, because together, my friends,
Make a mistake. We're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home.
I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friend, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night.